I will go ahead and call the meeting to order for today's 2x2 meeting. Start off with a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And first, before we do roll call, I'd like to welcome the two newest members to our 2x2, and I'll let them introduce themselves. So, go ahead, Dr. Young. I'll let you go ahead and go first.
Greetings. My name is Dr. LaTonya Young. I'm a trustee for Vallejo Unified School District. I'm also a local, born and raised here. I did 40 years of service in Vallejo City Unified School District, all levels. So you have a lot to deal with here.
And then push it again to turn it off. There you go.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carlos Flores. I am trustee for Area 1. Dr. Young was my vice principal at Hogan High, graduate of Hogan High, so goes to show how long I've been here. I look forward to seeing the two parts that make the whole of the city, so far as the school and the city working together. Thank you.
And can you, Trustee Flores, can you tell us what your official title is on the board?
Oh, my apologies. I was recently appointed as vice president of the board. Yeah.
Congratulations on that
Thank you.
one. And once again, welcome to Vice President Flores and Dr. Young, Trustee Dr. Young, to our 2x2. So moving on to the next item on the agenda is item number 4, selection of the chair and vice chair. So this is at the point where recommendations are made for a potential new chair, or well, we have to have a new chair since the previous chair is not here at this moment. So are there any nominations for any chair, or let's go with the chair. Start out with the chair first.
I'm happy to nominate for chair. I do want to give Narcissa a chance to officially call the roll. It sounds like that we need to do that.
My apologies. I was jumping the gun on that one.
You're all good.
No worries. Mayor Source?
Present.
Vice Mayor Matulik?
Present.
Vice President Flores?
Present.
Trustee Young?
Aye.
We have a quorum.
Thank you for that. And then, so now, let's go ahead and go to item number 4, which is selection of the chair and vice chair. Are there any nominations?
I'll nominate Vice Mayor Matulik for chair.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for Vice Mayor Matulak to be chair. We'll just do voice vote at this point. All those in favor, just please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Seeing none, congratulations to Vice Mayor Matulak to be the chair now. That's a little awkward right there, but anyway, so are there any nominations for vice chair?
I'd like to nominate Dr. Young.
I'll go ahead and second that.
I need to have a conversation.
Seeing how there's a first nomination along with a second, are you willing to take on the vice chair position, Dr. Young?
Give me some time.
You're on. Now you got to push it to talk.
What does that entail? First of all, before I say yes to anything, I'd like to know what it entails, because it might not run along with what I want to do. Okay? I'm retired. Remember that? Okay?
I'll jump in. Vice Mayor Matulik was the vice chair last year. It entails if the chair is not present, you would facilitate the meeting. That's literally it.
I accept.
All right, let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor of Trustee Dr. Young for Vice Chair, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Seeing none, congratulations, Trustee Dr. Young, to be our next Vice Chair. Manny, did you want to do seating arrangements?
So if you guys are comfortable with it, Board Member Flores and Tulek, you guys just
Oh, that would probably be the easiest. Yeah, because you're sitting at the vice.
I don't want to move.
You do or not? I got it.
I'm sitting here. I'm sitting here.
You sit here,
I sit here.
I sit here.
You stay right there.
Where you going? I gotta deal with that whole. Yeah, oh yeah, take your time.
You sit on elected bodies.
Like musical chairs.
We're just, you know.
The floundering.
I lost my fan.
Manny, are you good with renaming or a couple more minutes? We're good. Thank you for that. So, so moving on with the agenda, moving on to item number 5, community forum. And Manny, if you want to go ahead and start the clock. Oh, there's no. Were you going to start the video part of it too? Or are you going to do
Just
this?
the on-screen timer.
Okay.
I have that timer reflected on the top left corner of your screen for interested parties who wanted to sign up for the community forum at this time. Also, if you're on Zoom, feel free to raise your hand, or I believe it's star 9 if you want to raise your hand and you're calling in. At the conclusion of that timer, I'll be sure to let you know if anybody has signed up for the community forum. But in the meantime, feel free to carry on with the agenda.
Thank you for that, Manny. And so as we wait for the clock to time itself down for community forum and any comments, we'll move on to item number 6A, which is approval of the agenda and minutes. The chair is open for a motion.
I'll move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for the approval of the agenda and the minutes. Are we just going to do voice vote, or do the, or did you want to? Were you putting voice vote? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. 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 All those opposed? Any abstentions? Seeing none, the approval of the agenda and the meeting minutes have been.
I'm sorry, real quick. Do we need to abstain from?
Yes. So there will be an abstention for Trustee Young and Vice President Flores from the December 11th minutes, as they weren't appointed to this body.
Yes, and in our world at for the city, if you happen to have not been at the previous meeting, but if you watch the video, you are allowed to vote on something like that. So just for as an FYI from our standpoint. So for future reference, and we still have 15 seconds. Any Jeopardy music we can play?
Through the chair, we do have a member of the public who would like to speak.
Oh, let's go ahead and call that speaker.
David B., please unmute yourself. You have the floor.
I am there you go. Trying to unmute. Just so Manny, so you know, in the browser version of Zoom, there is no option to raise your hand, at least not on the telephone. So I had to switch methodologies. Am I being received?
Yes, you are.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you and welcome new members of the 2x2 committee. I just have a few little general things I'd like to mention, and some of them may be covered in other events, but given all the technical problems I'm having here with this Zoom, I just want to ask that the board and all the members bring back to the board and their constituents the need for a reevaluation of safety, traffic safety around all schools. Also, I'm hoping that we can include more of the community in these particular meetings, so maybe a little bit more outreach. Additionally, I'm looking to encourage the membership here to request that the board does not sell any more of our properties because we need to look into the future there and not look for short-term gains. For now, I think that's all I'm going to mention. Thank you, and then once again, welcome to the new members.
Thank you, Dave. Are there any other speakers in
And no other
person or
speakers
on
at this
virtual?
time.
None? Okay, thank you. So moving on to item number 7, presentations and commendations. Do we have any? None at this time. So moving on to the next agenda item, and I just saw Chief Todd walk in, and I see Sergeant Hollis here. So we'll go ahead and have our Vallejo Police Department updates.
It made some good walk-up music for these guys.
Good evening, Sergeant Hollis with the Vallejo Police Department, Public Information Officer. Welcome, new president. So I wanted to inform you about the Solano County Sheriffs who started yesterday. They're in town. They will be primarily patrolling the east side of Vallejo and south of Vallejo, which would be Beach 2, 3, and 4, to give you a geographic view via streets. Anything on the west side, which is west of I-80, they will be patrolling Georgia Street all the way down to the Carquinez Bridge. On the east side of Vallejo, it will be Redwood Street all the way down to Glen Cove. So they're going to primarily patrol South Vallejo, East Vallejo, which is Beach 2, 3, and 4. The way to contact them will be routine, call 911. Our dispatchers, our communications operators will triage the call. Anything that is Solano County related, they will transfer those calls to the Solano County Sheriffs. Anything that's within our jurisdiction, they will be dispatched as normal. iHeart, there will be no changes to iHeart. If there's something going on in East Vallejo or South Vallejo, iHeart will still go to all calls inside the incorporated parts of Vallejo. Their lineup will consist of a watch commander, which is a lieutenant, a sergeant over their patrols, and they will have 6 deputies. Their hours of operations will be from 2 p.m. to midnight, Wednesday through Saturday. This will not only help with staffing, because technically there will be 2 deputies in the 3 beats that they will be patrolling. It would also allow our officers that will usually be in those beats to come to the west side and North Vallejo and help with more saturated policing, which will bring more visibility. It will reduce our calls for service and our response times extremely. And it will help with proactivity. With proactivity, this also helps with training new officers, because at one point, of course, the officers were kind of going to call to call to call to call. This allows a more slower pace to educate officers that are brand new to our department on how to properly address the calls for service. Instead of that sink or swim mentality, now they can actually be nourished and given the amount of time needed to actually learn the job. You know, OJT is very important. With speaking about our new officers, we most recently added 4 new officers to our police department. We're very excited about them. They're new officers, but they have a lot of motivation, and they are excited to be here. So I'm really happy about that. And as far as the schools that will be affected with this new merge that Solano County Sheriffs will be patrolling over, it will consist of Jesse Bethel, Hogan Middle School, Stephen Manor, Warlaw, Vallejo Adult School, Patterson Elementary, Cave Language Academy, Pennycook Elementary, and Glen Cove Elementary.
Thank you, Sergeant Hollis. Welcome, new members. Jason Taub, Vallejo Chief of Police. So I just have a couple of add-ons to what Sergeant Hollis had mentioned about the partnership. So that actually started yesterday. So yesterday afternoon was the very first briefing of the sheriff's deputies, so we were happy to have them. As we had already mentioned, we believe there's going to be significant benefit, particularly to our responsiveness to call volume. In addition to that, though, with more boots on the ground, so to speak, when we have some large-scale events that we inevitably will have, particularly when the summer months come, they're going to be able to assist us. So large sideshows, for example, or any large events that require a significant amount of resources, as in a barricade or something more serious like that, will have immediate help. In addition, when we used to have help from the sheriff's office, we would call for what's called mutual aid. And when that occurs, there's not a lot of planning involved because those are events that are unforecastable, so they're just happening. And so the deputies that would come would be just a hodgepodge of whoever was available. Here, with this partnership, we know the deputies, they're going to get to know us, they're going to get to know the community, and those are all very key ingredients for success. So we're really happy to have them. We're going to have them until the end of December. As it relates to the school, we talk to our partners at the school and encourage them to still, get on the phone with us anytime some significant issue occurs. The superintendent will give me a call. We'll talk through any challenges that we may have with response times or with the investigation. So we're still going to continue that partnership. We're hoping that as the sheriff's deputies get more acclimated to the region, that we might even be able to have them as a point of contact for the school. We shared, a couple of things that we're looking to try to help the schools. One of it is the new security guard program that we rolled out. So we're doing our first assessment of this program. So they went live, I think, November 24th last year. So we're going to look at December to do an analysis on the effectiveness of the areas of deployment. Some of the schools have been inflicted by copper theft, trespassing, vandalisms, and a lot of other quality of life issues that we might be able to utilize the security guard in the future. So we're looking at that. And then lastly, I shared with them two initiatives that I'm sure council and some folks here may already be aware of. That's the domestic violence initiative that we're going to roll out for 2026, as well as sex trafficking. So there would be a huge engagement and educational piece to both of these initiatives, and that is really going to kind of overlap some of the students, particularly their parents perhaps, but also some of these child victims that we do run across, whether it be child abuse, sex abuse, or sex trafficking. So we're going to work well with them as we roll into the new year, and anything that we could do for engagement or educational opportunities, we're going to explore that engagement piece with the school. Those are really kind of high-level updates. Any questions for us that you guys may have?
Go ahead, Vice Chair Young, and then.
Yeah, well, this is cute. You mentioned coverage for east and south. Did I miss coverage for north and west?
No, you didn't miss it. So our partnership, we have 8 police beats. So the city is cut up into 8 different areas, and they're going to cover 3 out of those 8 during the period of time that they're going to help us. So they'll cover beats 2, 3, and 4, which is generally the southeast area of our city.
The other question is, are the school sites going to be notified as to what directive they are to use in contacting the services if they need them?
So all of that remains the same. So if they need to call, everything comes through our call center. So our dispatchers will still receive those calls. And so once they receive the calls, if it goes to a deputy, then we transfer that call over to the sheriff's office for dispatch. And so the deputies would then respond and provide the services. If the call comes in and it's in our area of responsibility, we would respond as normal. So from the lens of the school or anybody else in the community, nothing changes other than if they're in those areas during the assistance times, deputies will show up instead of Vallejo officers.
Something that would probably help is they have a protocol to use when they call, so it would expedite the services, like what they're supposed to say when they call in.
Yeah, that's a very good point. We try to educate public sometimes because oftentimes I'll say that our dispatchers are trained to really ask very specific questions right away, because most people don't realize when they're on the phone, they're actually sometimes dispatching at the same time. So as they're getting information, they're typing it into the computer system as officers or deputies are en route. So sometimes they're a little bit curt, because they want to know if there's weapons involved, what people that are there look like, if there are any associated vehicles or anything relevant that needs to be gleaned immediately, so that way the deputies or officers can come there really quickly. So that has been a challenge, to kind of inform the public on what to expect when they call 911 or what to expect when deputies or officers arrive. So that's a continuous process that I think we're trying to do better, to inform the public what to do, what to expect, and what information might be needed.
Yeah, as a educational leader, when I was on site, I made sure that my staff was fully aware of what they needed to say in order to get the communications clear, in order for the dispatch to get there in a timely manner. So I had a handbook, So that's what I'm saying. We need something that's there, that it's script universal. I'll be glad to share it with you if you want.
Yeah, certainly we'd love to see that information.
It might be outdated, but
I'm sure it's pretty thorough still. Yeah, but we have constant communication with the school district, and so their staff is really well versed on what generally needs to be said right away. Particularly because we evaluate whether that call is a priority 1 call, a priority 2 call, or a priority 3. So some of those questions that are answered in the immediate, that's going to determine whether or not it's an immediate response or potentially I don't want to call it delayed response, but a lower classification. And then so the hierarchy of all the calls that are coming in at the same time have to be triaged continuously.
It sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for our Vallejo team, police department? The one thing I would like to share for Sergeant Hollis. So Sergeant Hollis leads our Neighborhood Watch and Business Watch programs. And so what I would like to see through this team here is getting the word out to parents, to families, to help participate, because from his lens, the more eyes we have out there, the more people that can help identify where some hot spots may be. That always benefits both the community but also the school in some of those areas. So that's one of the things that Sergeant Hollis leads. And the other part is we typically get regular updates regarding staffing and things. So I know you shared this with us in the past, Chief Ta. At some point, there was a schedule of having resource officers available. Do you have any update of when that potentially may be available to the school district?
So the short answer is kind of, sort of. So when we looked at our staffing, we came up with an assumption. So our assumption was we were hoping to fill X number of officers every year. Mm-hmm. I can tell you that I looked at calendar year 2025. So at the beginning of calendar year 2025, we were only 4 above what we are right now. So initially, we had an assumption of +7 every year. We didn't reach that target. When the council passed the recruitment incentive for laterals, we were hoping to get an additional 5 laterals each year. So that brought us to an assumption of 12. Well, in 2024, we actually had 8 officers that had left the department that came back. So that kind of skewed some of the numbers a little bit. And so obviously we're not going to get, 8 laterals every year, particularly 8 that came from our department. So right now we're looking at a modest kind of increase. I'm hoping still we get about 5 to 7 new hires. And then we haven't seen a large amount of laterals yet. We had a couple, but we had enough money funded for 15. So we were hoping for 5, in 1 year, 5 the next, and the 5 the final year. But at this rate, we're starting to kind of talk about with the schools, SROs. I know funding is going to be a main topic of consideration as money gets a little bit tighter. In years previous, the school did help out with some of the expenses for the SROs. So we're kind of starting that conversation now, but that's probably not for a year or potentially 2 years down the road.
Thank you for sharing and give us a timeline of the potential of that happening. I saw Vice President Flores. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chief Sergeant Hollis. My goal is to beat you to it where we won't need RSOs because our schools will be at a spot and a place where that's just not going to be a requirement. So I'm going to try to beat you to getting the folks ready.
Hope you win.
Me too, absolutely. It was mentioned about the programs that you work with, Sergeant Hollis, about eyes on, helping with more folks. Based on the time frames, for the schools, it's going to be kind of outside of the school times. So during those times, 2 to midnight, the goal is to cut down on calls, right? Or not calls, excuse me, but wait time or response time, excuse me. How can we, or what can we do when we do see things from the hours of midnight to 1 p.m. and we see things where we can prioritize that so that that response time can be equal to when we have the sheriffs out there. One thing I notice, because I'm a local resident of this neighborhood, and one area where I would like to see is during pickup times, drop-off times at the school bus stops. I'm not sure if you are all aware of where they're at, but one of them right down the street. It's just. I'd like to see a little bit of police presence there by City Park when that bus is getting there, just because of the activity that's still present when it's there, and I just don't think. I don't like my son to see it, because my son walks to that bus stop, and I don't want anybody else's son or daughter to see it. So I think during those times, maybe prioritize it, so far as pickup drop-off times around that. But kind of going back to that other question, just how can we, or what can we say to prioritize a response time when we do see something that we want to address? Like, say I'm calling at 7:45 and I'm telling you about the 7 prostitutes that are hanging out within the block of the bus stop. How do we prioritize that?
Of course, if you see something, say something. The number one objective is to call 911. The great thing about the sheriffs being in town, that allows us to saturate the community more with officers for more visibility. With that being said, as soon as you call, we have officers now available to produce more awareness in the streets with visibility. So therefore, if you see something, you call, we can bring the officers there. I also will have a meeting with our service area lieutenants and inform them that one of the concerns is to produce more visibility during pickup and drop-off during the schools, and we definitely will address bringing more visibility in the city parks. So this is something that I can just take care of right after this meeting and inform the service area lieutenants of those concerns.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is, just be aware that during the drop-off in the morning, we don't have the additional help, from the sheriff's office. So we're still kind of limited to the staff that we have available for a drop-off. So we're trying to come up with some creative ways to have some visibility there. If we're able to use a police assistant or some other kind of official-looking vehicle to remind people to slow down. We have some traffic trailers that we use, and we spread around the city as well. So we put the trailers, they're called radar trailers. They don't actually issue tickets or anything, but it just raises awareness, and sometimes it slows speed down a little bit. But during the pickup at the end of the day, we'll have more help, at least Wednesday through Friday when school is getting out. So not only will we have more help during those days from the sheriff's department, but that allows us to use more of our resources more effectively too. So what I think you'll see, and the community will see, is much more responsiveness to those type of calls, because calls are what they are. You can only tell what's happening. I think sometimes people will say that they fear something is going to happen, or if somebody comes out here, if somebody doesn't come out here, something terrible is going to happen, which I don't disagree with, but that's not happening. So what we have to do is we have to look to see what is happening, and then we have to compare it to what is happening in the city as a whole, and whatever needs to be addressed in the moment, in the immediate, that's what we deal with first. And then based on the triage of all those calls, we try to use our resources where they need to be first, second, third, and so on.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Vice Chair Young?
Resource officers. I think you guys have the source right there in your department. Brent Garrett, is he back?
He's tired.
Brent and I wrote the grant for the resource officers when they were in our school district. In the 60s, I think it was, no, it was in the 70s, but anyway, he and I wrote that grant along with several other people, and it was matched by our district. They were, they had job descriptions of what they're supposed to do, but they were infiltrated into the communities. They were part of the community. And when something was going on in the communities, we knew firsthand in order to circumvent it. So, how far along are you into that resource mindset at this particular point? Because you have the key person right there. I don't know, don't tell him I'm volunteering his services, but he was a key. It was Marcus Pugh and all of them that were in there with us in the trenches. They were part of that. They made that program work. So it's very, very important that you get somebody that understands the dynamics of it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, I was a resource officer for over 20 years at my former agency, so I enjoy working in that environment with staff and with the children. I think we're still about a year to potentially 2 years out, though. I think that when we had to kind of flatten our organizational structure out, we had to bring everybody back to the bread and butter, answering calls, 911 calls for service. So as now we're expanding, we're having that discussion. I had the discussion with the superintendent today about grants and match funding. So I'm quite certain we'll be able to get some of those grant funds. What I need to do is I need to know that I can commit those dedicated officers to that program, because if we can't commit to that personnel-wise, then having the money is kind of irrelevant. I'll give you an example. We had Kaiser pay fully loaded costs for an officer, and that wasn't the problem. It was that we didn't have an officer to give them. And then so as we're rebuilding, we're looking at building traffic out. Traffic is a major concern in this city. We have a lot of fatalities, way too much for a city our size. And it affects the children as well as all of you every day. So these are key components that we have to slowly start building back. Traffic, our detectives also, there's only 5 detectives for all follow-up crime in our city. So that's an area that we need to also consider building back. Having an officer at Kaiser is good because it does save the city a little bit of money in terms of FTE, but their role is probably, when you look at it, They're not doing that much there, but I feel like with the resource officers, they are well worth the time and investment and the money. And then so as soon as we can physically possibly, at least scrape out one, maybe two officers, we're going to do that as quick as we can. So I'm hoping in about a year, 2 years tops, that we'll at least get that replenished.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Salich. Thank you, Sergeant Hollis. Moving on to the next item is our interagency updates. Do we have any? I do not see GVRD here. Any other interagency here? None? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move to item 10A, discussion items. 10A is a Nebraska Street closure update. I see our Public Works Director here for that, so welcome to the podium, Mr. Alcantar.
Good evening, Mayor Source, Vice Mayor Matulik, Dr. Young, and Board Member Flores. So from Public Works side, we're ready to go. We've got the CEQA exemption, and we've got the funds through our traffic calming budget. Robert, our PIO, is here. He's been the one that's been communicating with the community and the school.
So yes, I've had an opportunity to meet with the, well, let me back up a little bit. So City Manager Murray had asked me to do some outreach on this project because I guess previously, before my tenure with the city, there was a pilot program that occurred, and during that pilot program, there was a little consternation with the local community surrounding the school districts. And so on this reiteration or iteration of this closure, we wanted to not repeat those things. So I reached out to the Vista HOA and had a long discussion with them, with their president, and then also attended their meeting. They had a series of questions that they wanted answered. I did have an opportunity to sit down with the staff at VCUSD to talk about operationally how that will work, and also had an opportunity to talk with our Public Works Department to answer all of their questions. I think most of those questions are answered at this point. One of the things that, in my mind, that I just learned this morning that still stands out that we still need to address with VCUSD is that the street closure will result in 45 spots being lost along Nebraska Street when that street is closed, unless people choose to park in there when it's closed, and in which case it'll be more challenging for them to leave during the course of the day. My last exchange with VCUSD was how are we going to mitigate that? Is there some way we can create parking other places so that when this issue comes up with the community, because I know it will, because that was their sore piece, was that this may result in cars being pushed out into their neighborhood, which 45 cars is significant. What is our strategy to address that? And so, I just learned that today, reached them back out, having a conversation with them. Once we've had those questions answered, I feel it'll take 2 to 3 weeks to not only craft the strategy, but also implement the strategy with the neighborhood. I've already built a rapport with the Vista. They're eager to hear from me, and they've invited me not only to their HOA board meetings, but to other also neighborhood organization meetings to explain what's happening here. And I told them that from my perspective, that the city does not want to move forward until these questions are answered, so that everyone's comfortable what's occurring and what's not occurring, and to dispel any miscommunication or misrepresentation of what is happening within the community. And they seem all very fine with that, and they're eager to hear from us about the situation. So we'll get it hammered out shortly. Hopefully within today or the next day, we can address this 45-car shortfall, so to speak, and then we can work on messaging and then get that messaging out.
Thank you for that. Are there any questions from the dais regarding the Nebraska street closure update? Seeing none, thank you for that report. Moving on to the next item, 10B, is future uses of the VCUSD school sites. And I see Superintendent Aurelio with his light on.
I'm going to guess this is me. So thank you for putting this item on the agenda. I think it's really important for the community and the city to know, as we continue to closed schools, and we did approve, and I know I have a report later as well on an update on the district, additional 3 school closures for the 26-27 school year. One of the challenges we face as we do this is what do we do with some of these properties that will sit on our books, and we still have to maintain, we still have to secure, and all of those things become challenges. So just thinking, being forward thinking about what we can do and some of the items we've done so far, because we did close 2 schools in the current year. Early childhood programming, which is where we did provide at Loma Vista, formerly Loma Vista Elementary, also supporting after-school programming and expanded learning. The nice thing about that is, those are different pots of money that go into funding programs like that. The site that was formerly Vallejo Charter School, formerly Springstown, there's a lot of formerlies I've found in Vallejo. That property is currently our Family Resource Center. It's also the home of the health center that used to be formerly Pennycook. And so, still providing community services. That is a property that we are considering for sale. So we have gone down the pathway of not only having it designated as surplus, but getting it appraised. We're looking at potentially, ideally a sale that would generate housing that would benefit both the city and the school district. And then, we have 3 more sites that will come online for future consideration. So we are definitely open to partnering. We're open to partnering with non-private, but public agencies, especially in consideration that some of these sites have had bond dollars used to support the infrastructure. So, we want to be mindful of the funding that went into supporting these sites. And so anything that we can do that would be public facing and public agencies that actually benefits us. It could help generate some revenue for the school district as well, leases and those opportunities. I know that the Lincoln site is one we really want to be mindful of because that is a community that really needs services. And so that would be a great location to support those communities.
Thank you for that report, Superintendent Aurelio. I see Mayor Source.
Thank you. And thank you for that update. I think we talked about this really briefly at our last meeting, and I want to kind of back up. I wasn't able to join your meeting when the board made that difficult decision, but I did watch online, and I just want to again thank the board, the staff, everybody at VCUSD for shepherding as best as possible a really difficult process and really difficult decisions. And I think the way that meeting went is a testament to the outreach and the transparency that you all put into the process. I know it was not easy. And for this item, we had spoken a little bit, the former President Fox and I were chatting last December that, we really do have 2 kind of gold standard examples in Vallejo of repurposed school sites in the Beverly Hills, soon to be First 5, and the Franklin Middle with GVRD. And so, we can really take this unfortunate situation as the school district builds up momentum with, and right sizes itself to continue to be innovative and at the forefront of how to repurpose school sites to benefit community. And so wanted to make sure that conversation happens here. A part of that conversation happens here just so that we're staying in close contact and giving updates. I love the Vallejo Charter Vision. I'm sad to hear that it's up for sale, but I understand. And, I know that I would imagine there's plans to move those services to another vacant site should Vallejo Charter be sold for another purpose. But, I just, in as much as I can be and the city can be partners in finding funding, finding resources for events or youth programming or services or, community center, workforce housing, whatever it may be, that we feel like parks, particularly sports and rec with some of the fields. I look forward to that partnership and I'm just basically here for however we can help.
Thank you for those comments. Are there any other questions or comments regarding item 10B, future uses of VCUSD school sites? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to item 10C. 10C, which is defining the mission and intent of the 2x2 committee. And I think with two new members on this, I think this is a great conversation piece to what is our vision of what we want this body to be able to accomplish. And I think the mayor and I can start off by saying, typically what we've used this for is a collaborative conversation of identifying like-minded goals, but also like-minded challenges to see how we can conquer them together. And so this is where, with two new minds here, maybe we can think a little bit different. Maybe there's some new ideas that we can post out there, and there may be new ideas for us to kind of see how this can be even more collaborative and being more, I think, in my mind, public to the community, to where they can see VCUSD and the city of Vallejo working together. So just opening the floor to any questions, comments, or anyone would like to share any initial thoughts. And I see Vice President Flores.
I've always said that what we do on the school board is half of it. Because once 3 o'clock hits, 5 o'clock, these kids, these families return back to our city. So for myself, the mission, the intent is, where do we partner to make that handoff continuous? So when our kids are receiving education, mental health, nutrition, when they go home, what can we do? How can we have the city help us to continue that, when now they've gone from students of VCUSD to citizens of Vallejo? For me, that's the ultimate thing, because at the end of the day, I like I've said recently, I want us to have a magnet district. I want us to be a magnet city. We should be. I mean, so that's where I would like to see what can we do to develop these things. When I was asked, and I know it wasn't on the agenda, but just kind of one of the things that I was thinking about when I was asked about things I wanted to see on the agenda, I look, I've worked all over the Bay Area, and I've seen all these nice cities, the cities that people say they want to live in. And what I see during dismissal time, when and in the mornings, I see groups of kids riding on bikes, going to school. I see, community engagement. I see full PTAs. So where do we all, as district and city, how do we do that? How do we develop? I'd love to see a bunch of kids riding their bikes to and from school. So we need the infrastructure for that. We need the traffic safety for that. We need the kids to feel that they can bring their bikes to school, and the bikes will be there safe. That's our end, right? So those are that's my overall intent in this time that I'm here. How do we build that handover of the work we're doing, and likewise the work that the city does when the kids come back to school? How do we support what you all are doing? Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. And those are some great points. And I think part of this, and where you see part of this agenda when you talk about interagency updates, so part of this whole collaborative conversation, and unfortunately they weren't here today, was part of GVRD. So GVRD has a big part within the school district where they run a lot of the after-school programs. And then before, they're also doing the morning school program, but only certain schools are receiving that, to where parents can drop off their students earlier than the arrival time. I know Glen Cove had, I think it's First Kids, or there's the program there that GVRD was typically running, and I think due to funding sources, they've been challenged to be able to continue that and expand it. But I know they do play a large part in the after-school program with the expanded learning. So that's where we like to have GVRD as part of this conversation to identify what are the after-school or before-school opportunities to keep kids occupied. And also, if the next item on our agenda is actually going to be our youth coordinator. So I think Victoria Grace Barksdale would help us and help you to understand some of the things that we've been thinking about of how we keep kids preoccupied, and I'll just save that for Victoria Grace Barksdale to kind of speak to you for that. But this has always been something we've been talking about and thinking about. It's a matter of being able to execute and identifying facilities and the infrastructure of how to make this sustainable. And so this leads to funding issues that I think we both our organizations are challenged to find that right now in this challenging economy. So those are what have been already started as far as conversations go, and we're looking to expand that and be able to execute some of the ideas that we've actually talked about. I see Vice Chair Young.
I don't know whether you realize it or not, but VCUSD and the city are all the same. You have VCUSD in the city. Your people come into this city, the first thing they think about is schools. And if we don't start as a collaborative unit promoting that we have the good schools, we find that the people that come into us buying these homes don't put their kids in our schools. I did a little research on my own. There was a subdivision, I'm not going to name it, but anyway. I was a prospective buyer, and I asked them about the schools. Do you know what they told me? They told me, oh, the average person does not do Vallejo Unified School District. They do American Canyon, da-da-da-da. I said, oh, really? I said, well, I went back to my car and got all the brochures that we have and I reintroduced myself. I said, well, let me reintroduce myself. I am Dr. LaTonya Young, and I'm over District 4, School Board. And here is our program. And I would appreciate it if you, as a provider of these homes that are, would make sure that they have the right information, because you just gave me the wrong information. So we have to be cognizant of what is being delivered out there as partners. So, yeah.
Good. Thank you for that. That definitely speaks to the collaborative conversations that I think that if we can focus on to make sure we're both getting the appropriate messaging out there to the community and
the
perspective. Yes.
Real estate.
Correct.
Congress. Yeah, they need to know that that's being done. They need to know that that's being done. They might not realize it, but those are their agents doing it.
Yes. Thank you for that. Mayor Soares?
Yeah, thank you for this is a great item, and I'll say, yeah, I mean, everything both of you said I think is part of it, and I've now been on the 2x2 for a year, put myself on it when I took office, mainly because I'm an educator, but also, you know, I think there just is such tremendous value in showing outwardly the partnership. And what you just said about the communication and kind of being a champion, you know, I really have been trying in my role as mayor to champion the school district wherever possible, be present in the school district wherever possible, really show, because we are the same, we're the same population, we're the same constituents, we are, you know, we rise and fall together as our community succeeds. And, you know, that's where GVRD coming in is helpful, because they're the ones that then come in and get our young people when they're not in school. That's why we have our PD come in, because they're the ones that create the conditions of safety for our students around the schools. We are doing things like the Nebraska Street closure, looking at transportation projects. If we're here and we kind of hear that there's a safety issue around a school, we can brainstorm. Myself sitting on the regional boards can advocate for, for example, safe routes to school funding for this year to finish up the closure of Nebraska. And, I think it's been for the past year, the vice mayor's been on this, I think, since the inception, but, for the past year at least, I think we've been doing two things simultaneously. We've been figuring out where we can be proactive together and to show synergy, look at school sites, look at, safety and closures, but then we've also had to be reactive, unfortunately, and we've had to think about immigration enforcement, and we've had to think about food stamps getting cut, and we've had to think about, how we partner together when our community is hurting. I don't think we're there yet, but as the city improves its response, the best way to get information to people in our city right now is through our schools. Like the organization, the institutions that the most people touch, other than paying their water bills, which most of us do on auto pay and we don't actually go in, but the most people touch the school district. Not everybody, but that's the biggest share of our population. So if we need to get the word out about Know Your Rights, or about a community meeting where we did the immigration piece where we had the chief and the sheriff come in, and we've got to be in partnership with the school district, and we held it at Vallejo High, which I thought was really beautiful. So for me, I think we're here to handle challenges together as they come, the things that are out of our control, and we're here to take kind of shared responsibility and initiative of the things that are in our control. And it's been a really positive experience, and I'm just looking forward to finding more ways to grow and work together.
Thank you for sharing, Mayor. Any other comments, questions regarding defining the mission and intent of the 2x2? Seeing none, let's go ahead and move on to item number 11, 11A, Youth Coordinator Updates. And I'll look forward to Ms. Victoria Grace Barksdale coming to the podium.
Good evening, everyone. Victoria Grace Barksdale, Youth Coordinator for the City of Vallejo. I just have a couple items to report on. We have an upcoming Vallejo Youth Delegation to Washington, D.C. Unfortunately, early January, that conference was already sold out for youth. However, we are on the wait list. But on a positive note, if we are unable to get into the conference, we still have a very robust program planned for youth just in visiting Washington, D.C. We have done this before when the conference was sold out, and so we still took youth to D.C. They still participated in some of the exchanges with other schools that were in the conference. We met with our congressman's office. We met with our City of Vallejo lobbyist. We toured a number of historical sites, and I'm sure you can all agree you can spend days just going to museums. So we do have an alternative itinerary should we need it, but fingers crossed we still may get into the conference. That trip is on March 14th through the 17th, and applications will go out the first week of February. As has been done in the past, we do generally ask the 2x2 members to help in the selection, evaluation, and scoring of those students. So we'll generally receive the application. There's a rubric and a scoring sheet that we give you guys about a week to score on your own. The students do have the ability to view the apps in English and Spanish. It is a Google form, so it's easy for them to access. There's a QR code on the flyer. We also now have a Q&A session should they want to ask specific questions or have any other things that they want to hear about the trip. So we've tried to do a really good job of outreach to make sure that it's an equitable application process. We don't look at grades. We only look at attendance if, say, kids have a very, very poor attendance record, in which case we kind of meet with school sites and staff to make sure, if they can't go to school, then do we want to have them represent our city and bring them on a trip outside the state? So really looking forward to that and you guys' involvement, especially the new board members. Second, we have Prop 64. And so for our new 2x2 members, Prop 64 is a grant that the city of Vallejo won through taxing of marijuana. And so essentially that money goes back to cities and communities in order to mitigate the negative effects of marijuana. And so the city of Vallejo has a few different purpose areas that our grant addresses. That's youth development, public safety, and public health. And with that, we work with different nonprofits here in Vallejo. One of our main components of that is hiring youth through Healthy Vallejo Community Support Services. They go around and work very closely with our Public Works Department, with Recology, with our city manager's office, and they do targeted cleanups around the city. Additionally, we work with Center for Urban Excellence and formerly Advanced Peace, and they provide community workshops on substance use prevention. And then most importantly for you guys, we work with Club Stride, who has been embedded on the school sites, in particular Vallejo High School, and doing some substance use prevention workshops. And so we did just have a really great meeting with VCUSD administrators regarding moving forward and potentially expanding to Bethel High School to do some more substance use prevention. We're looking at rolling that out to 9th grade classes in their Get Focused, Stay Focused class. So we're kind of developing and working with site principals and how that will look. And if we are able to push into that classroom, what's really exciting about that is that every 9th grader will get that same curriculum moving forward. Our grant does go through 2028, so hopefully we're able to have this as a prolonged resource for the school. Another really exciting thing is, we're exploring ways to offer those types of workshops as alternatives to discipline. So, if students are having like a first offense or something like that, if they're able to attend a workshop on substance use prevention versus having a disciplinary action, I think it's a very meaningful intervention for them. So excited to roll that out. And then lastly, I just want to give a really quick shout out to Superintendent Aurelio. I had the opportunity to meet with his student advisory committee, and they were a really awesome group of students that gave us some very valuable feedback about how they would like to see a youth council or something of that sort for the city. I got some feedback that, contrary to what I thought, youth gave an opposite opinion. And so it's really invaluable as we reconstruct what we used to have as a youth commission and reintroduce it and make sure that youth are a meaningful part of the planning. And then just one last shout out. Tonight in our Vallejo Weekly, we are putting out an article about the previous Vallejo youth delegations presentation to our city council. They attended the National League of Cities conference in Salt Lake City, Utah, and so there's a really great spread. They are on our cover. That was also sent to Selena, so I know we want to do a lot of cross promotion in this body. So please read the Vallejo Weekly. If you're not already signed up, you can get it emailed to you and subscribe to get those updates. And I believe they are also going to be presenting to the school board about the outcomes of their trip in February. Any questions?
Thank you for that
Thank you.
presentation. Any questions or comments for Ms. Victoria Grace Barksdale? Oh, yes, go ahead, Mayor Source.
Yeah, a quick one. On the school visits, I forget what duration we had decided for the initial pilot, but I wanted to see if there's been any conversation or if there's any chance to have a conversation about expanding formalizing the delegations a little more into some type of cohort that has a few meetings and maybe setting it for a specific class, like saying, rising juniors are eligible to apply, you have a couple pre-meetings and going in that direction. I don't know if we would need more funding for that, or if there's any way we could kind of grow it into something like a little bit more formal leadership development program.
Yeah, I'm definitely open to that conversation. Right now, we are in, I believe, the last trip of our current MOU with the district, and the intent of it was always to develop it into more. We have done leadership training in the past with Vallejo and Benicia students, a lot of Vallejo VCUSD students, and so we do have curriculum that we can use to make it a little bit more of a robust leadership program. I know it is a little bit difficult just with timing because kind of like we saw here in early January, the March conference is already sold out. We didn't get back from the last youth delegation trip until the end of November. So it is a quick turnaround between those trips, but I think the youth would certainly be open to it. I know myself and the other chaperone, Sharita Dilly, are always in contact. I mean, there's one of our delegates is meeting with the volunteer coordinator and myself, and I'll be talking to you about meeting with your office to champion something. So I think the youth do want to do more. Funding is always a question for that, and just capacity. So I'm definitely open to talking about that.
Yeah, thanks. I'll support that however I can.
I see Vice Chair Young.
You said that you were probably needing some assistance with somebody evaluating or something.
Correct. So the youth delegation program is a program that's open to 10th through 12th graders within the VCUSD high schools to apply. And so there's like a week-long application period. The applications are all online, and usually after that period, we have an evaluation period. And so myself, usually some school staff, site staff, and 2x2 members will read over those applications. I want to say there's like 4 questions, 4 criteria points that we evaluate them on. I will warn you now, it is difficult to score because we have some fantastic students in VCUSD, but generally we've had 2x2 members assist in the scoring. If there's questions about them or we want a little bit more information, then we've had in the past where we've met up, but generally we've been able to have you guys just score on your own and then return to me your score sheets. We then tally up all the scores and kind of select students. So there are standing positions for the school board trustees because I think as we built this out, we thought it was important to provide them with a leadership training opportunity, especially as a city, we have the availability for that resource. And then there are 1 spot that's dedicated to each of the high schools, so Vallejo High School, Bethel High School, and John Finney. And then there's 2 spots that are open to whichever student from whichever schools that just score the next 2 highest. So we have, again, we've had to break down the scorings into like 9.5, 9.7s because, you know, a lot of our students, they have the drive and just the want to represent Vallejo, and we don't just want to take our top performing students that are in a million different clubs. Like, we want to make sure that we're taking students that would appreciate value and could use this opportunity. So it's not just us scoring them on how many clubs they're in and are they ASB president and do they have a 4.0, are they perfect attendance kids. We want to take students that are English language learners, students that, you know, maybe have never had an opportunity to go outside of the state, let alone Vallejo and our Bay Area community. And so what's really helpful with us having a panel of scores is that we have different perspectives about what can be valued from a student that can sit on our delegation.
It's really helpful and it's really pleasing to me to see that you're taking the whole child. It's very important to take the whole child because all children don't come at the same level. Mm-hmm. So when you're doing that, you're getting a better, well-rounded clientele, I would say.
Most definitely,
So
yeah.
I'd be willing to help.
Awesome, thank you.
And I truly want to commend Ms. Grace Barksdale because when we first started this and the evaluation process, it was actually very lengthy, very cumbersome, and very difficult to do. But thanks to her efforts, she's been able to condense it and make it more succinct and easier for us to actually score and put some value to the evaluation that we actually do. So thank you for that. Any other comments or questions from
Yeah,
this perspective?
I think, and this was actually touched upon by the students that presented. We were able to get in touch with some of the former youth delegates that are now in college, and they came back and they zoomed in and they talked to our current youth delegates, and they also pointed out, this is a program that refines itself over time. I think I welcome you guys' input on how we can improve it, how we can make it more meaningful, how we can streamline some of these processes so it is more inclusive. It is easier for us to figure out how to take that whole student. So as you guys are evaluating the students and seeing how you are scoring them, if you have suggestions, please let me know or let us know on the dais, because every year we refine it to be better and better. We now have the Q&A session so that kids can just pop in and ask. We've now put it to 10th through 12th grade so it aligns better with government curriculums in schools. We make sure to offer it in Spanish and outreach to some of the community liaisons and school liaisons to make sure it's accessible for everyone. So as much as we want to keep this program and keep it going, we also want to make sure that it evolves and becomes better and easier each time.
Thank you for that. Seeing no further questions or comments, we'll go ahead and move on to item number 12, the action calendar. So members of the public wishing to address the 2x2 committee on action calendar items are requested to submit a completed speaker card to the secretary. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes pursuant to Vallejo Municipal Code, Section 2.02.420. And so I see Manny's got the clock running. As we wait for that clock to run out, let's go ahead and start the report out of the committee, any of the committee members. So if anybody's got anything they'd like to report, and we typically report out of if there's any activities you attended since our last meeting, or in this case, since the start of the new year, any activities or any events that you'd like to highlight for the community or for this body to know. Anything? I'm happy to. Go ahead. It looks like Vice Chair Young has something to say. Just push it hard.
I attended a beautiful Martin Luther King celebration held by NAACP at the Union Baptist Church on Sunday. It was a wonderful gathering and a reunite of what it's really about. Sometimes we tend to go east when we should be going south, or east or west or wherever, and we lose focus on the prize. So that was a reinstatement of, yeah, we have a long way to go. A long way to go. And sometimes we have to take a couple steps backwards, and we really taken a whole lot of steps backwards now, but we still have to keep focused and keep moving. So that was my highlight of this weekend.
Thank you for that, Vice Chair Young. Anyone else? I see. Looks like Vice President Flores is looking to go. Go ahead.
Still trying to work the buttons. The district has collaborated with the North Bay Rapid Response Network to an extent in regards to allowing the space for monthly trainings to happen. So this past month, and I think next month, they both fall on a holiday, so there might be a venue change for that, but we are having outreach to the community as well, dropping off literature, doing door-to-door informationals on what the work that's being done with the North Bay Rapid Response, and anybody that wants to participate, become a legal observer, a dispatcher, or a accompaniment team member, they can go to the website. The calendar's there where you can sign up for any of these trainings. And additionally, like I said, if you have an organization, a group of friends, whoever that wants to get together and and have a training, we will show up and do it. So if you don't know what the North Bay Rapid Response Network is, it is an all-volunteer organization that what we do is we provide power, not panic, to the community. 707-800-4544 is the number to call if ICE is at your door, if ICE is in your neighborhood, and we are there to document and provide support to our community. So that's kind of an ongoing thing that I'm doing, and I think, well, I'll say that for later. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Vice Chair Young, did you have anything else you wanted to add, or because you were trying to mess with the buttons, I didn't know if you wanted to speak again. Okay, nope, you're good. Now that the 2-minute timer has gone off, were there any speakers?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We did have one speaker from the Zoom who has had their hand up since, I think, agenda item 8. And then we also have another member of the public who has signed up for speaking on the discussion items. However, those discussion items don't typically have public speaking opportunities. So if you would be willing to hear both of those speakers now to speak on the action calendar, state if they want to speak on that, or if they want to, if you want to open up the community forum and allow them an opportunity to speak once again.
For the fact that we actually have a commission meeting that starts at 6, I want to make sure that we get through our actual action items, and if we do have any moments, time at the end, I'll be free to have that opportunity, but I just want to make sure we're respectful of the commission meeting that starts at 6 o'clock. So,
of course. Let me check and see if this speaker wants to
speak on this item.
On the action item.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Speaker God, did you want to speak on the action calendar?
Yes, please.
Go ahead, you have the floor.
I'm not certain why it is labeled myself as that, but that's all right. Action calendar items to add to your calendar is for the future. May is Bicycle Month throughout the Bay Area, in fact, the nation. Safe routes to school. You can add this date to your calendar. May 6th is Bike and Roll Day, and many of our schools will be participating. The following Thursday, May 14th, is Bike to Wherever Days throughout the Bay Area, and we usually have a bicycle station at the Ferry Building and other places. Additionally, for your calendar, date yet to be determined, but a bicycle fair, festival, etc., most likely to be held at Dan Mini School, possibly on May 2nd, dates to be determined. Same thing for St. Patrick's Elementary School, St. Vincent St. Pat's up on the hill. They also should be having a bike fair during May. Those dates are still not quite locked in yet, but please keep your eyes open for that. And if there's any other bicycle related issues, whether around your schools or on your schools, feel free to contact me. I think some of the people present will be able to find me. And also, real quick, if you'll indulge me, I think it's a great idea that we get more of our sheriffs, whenever possible, to hang out in front of the school zones during school let-out time, if they can be there on time. That'll help with transportation issues around those areas for every school that they are patrolling. They can just hang out there whenever they're not on a call. So yeah, and thank you so much for getting our kids into leadership positions. I'm hoping that the leadership positions would also include not necessarily only civic type of leadership, but also leadership of children, how they can benefit and find careers working with children through the summer camp programs, through tutoring, mentoring, etc. So maybe we can encourage the leadership team to work on getting specifics for our students to look into those careers. Thank you so much and have a great evening.
Thank you, Dave, for your feedback.
Through the chair, no other speakers on this item at this time.
Thank you for that. And Ms. Wilson, did you have a presentation or anything you want to share regarding the calendar and the meeting frequency?
No presentation, but I will note that we did present in the last page of the packet our current monthly meeting dates, which was set, I believe, last year. We set it 2 monthly. Prior to that, we had them bi-monthly. So tonight, I'm asking if you can review these dates and vote if you would like to move back to the bi-monthly meeting schedule or continue with our current monthly meeting schedule.
Thank you for that. And so I'll open it up to the dais of any questions, comments, or any guidance on that. Go ahead, Mayor Source.
Yeah, thanks for that context. And I would defer to the chair who had both systems of bi-monthly and monthly. Personally, I think there is value in having a little more frequency just because of how quickly things are happening and how quickly things come up. I would hate for us to have, for example, something related to our federal government that we want to have a joint response and not have the space. I don't know that we need 12 meetings. Maybe we can find something in the middle if there's a desire amongst the group, but I would love to hear from the vice mayor in terms of clearly you all felt that bi-monthly wasn't enough and then you moved it to monthly. So what's your thought here?
Correct. I think, as you pointed out, there's a lot of stuff that happens within a 4-week period on a regular basis, and we typically do go dark, so to say, in July. So there is a month or two, and it's the fact that the city goes dark in August. So there's a couple of months there that we don't have the meetings. But when school is in session, it definitely benefits that we do have these monthly meetings. So bless you. So that's my take from experience of being on this body.
Yeah. Well, with that, I mean, I know the new folks you have no point of reference necessarily, but I would support meeting monthly while school's in session and maybe we skip the December, because I think we canceled that one anyway, and maybe we skip the July. August, I personally would support meeting in August if the schools have just started. I think the timing of that, we both work in the schools, so neither one of us is out of town for that. So I would say let's keep it monthly while we're in session, maybe cancel the July, cancel the December.
Yeah, I would just say just keep it on the monthly basis, and then we can always do a cancellation if need be on any regular day, because July is typically not busy, or like June is going to be very, very busy to where they may not be able to get to anything in July. So we should always have the flexibility to be able to cancel meetings at any time. But regarding calendaring it, I would suggest that we just keep it to the monthly thing and cancel as needed type of stuff. So any comments from Vice President Flores or Vice Chair Young at this point? Any suggestions? Go ahead, Vice President Flores.
I just want to say I'm okay with it as is.
Thank you. And, go ahead, Mayor Source.
No, I was just going to move. Unless
go ahead.
Unless
Is there
the
a
vice
motion
chair has
on the
something.
table?
I'll move that we adopt the current monthly meeting dates with the intention to skip July and December, and the rest of them scheduled as regular. Do you want to just do it full monthly and we'll cancel? We'll cancel them in the moment. All right, let's just adopt the monthly meeting schedule as presented then.
Second it.
It's been moved and seconded to have a monthly regular scheduled meeting for the 2x2. Just go ahead and do a voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
I would like clarification.
Oh, what's your clarification that you're asking for?
Yeah, so you're moving your meetings to bi?
No.
No?
No, at one point it was bi-monthly, or every other month, so to say, but we had more recently kept it as a monthly meeting for the past couple of years now. So, and right now the motion on the table is to have it every month, to continue in its current format with every month.
Oh, okay. I heard a bi in there somewhere.
Yeah, that's what we were referencing what it used to be at one point. So.
Okay.
Yep. So. So once again, the motion on the table is to have monthly meetings, and we did have a, let me go ahead and redo the voice vote, just to make sure we all have it on the record properly. So all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passes. We will continue with the monthly meetings for the 2x2. And once again, we have 2 minutes to complete the rest of the agenda. And were there any committee reports from the mayor? I just had a real, I had a real quick one. So I have the honor to be on the Cal Cities Transportation, Communication, Public Works Policy Committee, and we were meeting up in Sacramento earlier today. And from that meeting, there was actually a bill that came to our attention. It's called AB 1569, and what it is, it's called the Pupil Safety Bill. And what this entails is any student riding an electric bicycle and parking has to pass a safety program that's run through, I think it's certified through CHP. And so the question actually came up of if a student rides their bike, electric bike to school and they get into an accident, so it's the question of the liability. And so I just want to pose that out there. The fact that this just started on January 12th, I think there's still some understanding that needs to happen. So I just wanted to pose that out to the school district of if this is a thing. It's less of a thing at the elementary school level, because technically to have an electric bike, you're supposed to be 16 years and older. But I think we do understand there are students that are younger than that, that do ride that. So just throwing that out there, but I think that would be a good opportunity to kind of take a deeper dive from the school perspective to find out what the risks and liabilities may be entitled to that based on this new bill that's out there. Vice Chair Young, did you have anything? Your light is on, or that's by accident? Oh, thank you for that. Seeing nothing else from committee reports, 14A, Superintendent Aurelio to provide an update on changes within the Vallejo City Unified School District.
And I know I'm under the clock, so I'm going to keep it very brief, but a lot of information. So December 17th, the governing board took action to close Highland Elementary, Lincoln Elementary, and Penny Cook Elementary for the 26-27 school year. This shift is going to impact roughly about 1,000 students that will be dispersed among the following receiving schools. Those schools will be Glen Cove, Wardlaw, Stephen Manor, Patterson, Federal Terrace, and Cooper Elementary. This past month, actually a week and a half ago, the governing board adopted the newly drawn school boundaries, and the school locator is up to date and ready to go on our website. So any family who wants to check what their new resident school is, they'll be able to look that up with their own address. In addition to making the difficult decision to close schools, the governing board also took action to reduce our budget for 26-27 school year, identifying $22 million in cuts. These are significant and, unfortunately part of the right sizing process we need to go through as a district due to the declining enrollment. Lastly, I just want to say we are open for enrollment, starting our new enrollment window. I do want to speak to our families, especially in our Vallejo resident community, that the transfer process has been updated. All that information is on our website and available. The district has taken a really strong stance on out-of-district transfer requests. We're limiting the number of transfers that we will approve to no more than 1% of the average daily attendance. Just for some context, that's no more than 80 to 100 approvals. Just for more context, we typically get 500 to 1,000 a year. So that is really significant and a change for our community. It is not business as usual in Vallejo City Unified, and we expect our community to commit to our schools. That's my report.
Thank you for that, Superintendent. Any questions or comments from the dais? Seeing none, we'll go ahead. Are there any, moving on to agenda item 15, future agenda items, are there any future agenda items that this body would like to see in the future? Vice President Flores?
I know I'd mentioned about seeing about some sort of infrastructure, what that process looks like, the financial realities of creating something where we can have like biking corridors for students.
Thank you for that. Anything else? Sounds like we'll get another update for the Nebraska street closure at the next meeting. And potentially, it looks like we'll continue items B and C on the discussion items for the future upcoming ones, along with our youth coordinator updates. If there are no other future agenda items, I will go ahead and move on to agenda item 16, which is adjournment. So go ahead and adjourn at 6:03.